came back, answered a Craigslist ad, and it was for this party. And I was able to like talk to these guys and see, what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong. And I think because I had the sales training background and just who I was as a person, I was able to kind of give more fine tuned advice versus maybe the other women that were in that little pool. And then the company that was that company was like, oh, do you want to work with us for these boot camps? And so then I was doing these boot camps once in a while. And it always was something that fulfilled me. And I got to, I think any sort of coach or teacher can agree with me on this. Like when you see the light in the eyes flicker when they get something, right? Or when something that, someone tried for actually gets it. And I got to see that with men. And so what we would do is we would create this safe space where they would practice on me. They would practice talking to me, approaching me, flirting with me, and I would be able to give them real-time feedback that was feedback that they never received before from someone. You can get it from a guy's perspective, but a guy is only going to have from his perspective. Whereas with a woman, I think our advantage is I've had multiple different types of guys approach me. I've been attracted to multiple different types of guys. So I'm able to see from a multifaceted point of view what women do find attractive, qualities, even in the looks department, even in, how you present yourself, things like that. And so that I think has been the thing that has helped with my success.
So, how would you define attraction? Because we all think it's if you've got the hots, if you fancy, whatever your terminology for it is. But
Mhm.
how would you define what it actually is from the sort of social dynamics for a female point of view compared to a male? Because you mentioned in a podcast where the men were hunters and women were like dimmer switches, and I love that analogy. And we all think women love muscles, looks, etc., whereas others, we've got these other notions of it's like how you make you feel, emotion versus logic and all these kind of things. How would you define what actual attraction is so we can actually truly understand this in the dating sense?
So you're absolutely right. Men and women have two separate ideas of what attraction means to them, at least in the beginning. So, men, physical appearance is number one, right? It's not the only thing, but physical appearance is number one for them, right? They're very physical creatures. Women, it's not as simple. Women, it's not looks, it's not money, it's not humor. It's actually a man's circumstance. And the way that I define that is how a man interacts with the world and how the world interacts with that man. So we see, and this comes from evolution, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, as the physically weaker species, it would be dangerous for us to only go off of looks. A man that is more well liked, more well respected in his community, that tells us in a very simplified version of just knowing you for 2 seconds. If we see that you're interacting with people and the way that people are interacting with you, it tells us the information that we need to know that you're, likely not going to harm us. You're not going to, you're a safe person, right? So that's why a man's circumstance is everything, which is why you'll typically see, maybe a not so great looking guy with with a gorgeous woman, and not so often the opposite.
And because how did you find that then with all these guys coming to approach you and also going away, down to different countries, etc.? How did you see the range of dating? Did you see a kind of similarity in the philosophies behind the way they approached?